Before we can start a discussion on what we know as the web, or the World Wide Web, we have to ask ourselves what it is that makes the World Wide Web possible. The answer to that is a World Wide Web network of computers. And this World Wide Web network works according to, obviously, the same standards, so that whatever information is being transferred from one location to another is effectively transferred and not lost in the process. So, in order to investigate this network, there are a few questions we have to answer. We have to answer what protocol do the computers use to communicate with each other? How do they shake hands? How do they say good morning, good evening, thank you very much for delivering the parcel? And the next question we have to ask ourselves is what infrastructure is involved? In other words, what cables, what computers, what boxes, what kind of hardware technologies are involved in making it possible for this network to transfer effectively information across a certain kind of hardware infrastructure. Now, it's very difficult to make the distinction between hardware and software nowadays, because so much of what used to be done by physical components are actually done by software. But for the moment, we'll just say that infrastructure is broadly the cabling and some boxes that make it possible for the information to be routed and passed along according to certain rules across the network. Now, in this area, we have to answer ourselves the following questions. We have to understand what is the structure or the definition of TCP/IP. We have to answer what TCP/IP is and what role it plays in this network, in the role or in the area of protocol, and how does it have an influence on infrastructure. We also have to answer ourselves the question, what is an IP address? And we also have to answer the question, what is an IP packet? Other than that, we have to answer ourselves the question, what is routing? And what role does that play? And all of these questions, the answer to these questions, will give us some kind of idea of how the network breaks down into physical and intelligent parts, how the network functions, what it looks like, what its form is, and what its function is. Well, should be able to answer those questions. And in that way, we'll be able to answer the question of how it is possible to have a computer on the one side of the world communicate with a computer on the other side of the world. Of course, they don't have to be on different sides of the world. But how is it possible for two computers to be linked to each other to be able to send and receive information? That is the objective of our first assignment. To find out what these terms TCP/IP mean, what IP address means, what an IP packet is, and what routing is. Once we have armed ourselves with this fundamental understanding of these concepts, we will have a clearer insight into the infrastructure and the protocols used for a network connection to be formed between a remote location and local location. The moment we're able to do that, we can then start investigating what kinds of means are available to connect these computers onto the network. But we have to understand the network that is involved. And broadly speaking, I would call the topic of our first assignment Internet Framework.